campaign started. And by getting this campaign started, I mean we're not going to do a damn thing because it's time for session 0. We are going to say hello to 4 of our 5 players because one is going to be a little bit late, but that's fine. So first we have Lost Without a Trace.
Hi.
And then we have Ace.
Hello.
And then we have Allie, who's not here. And then we have Gray.
Evening.
And then we have Morden.
Hello.
Okay, so what we are doing tonight, for those who are either new to the game or new to running large games, we're doing something called a Session 0, which is a conversation about the game, what everyone hopes to get out of the game, and where the focus of the campaign is going to be. There's a couple reasons to do this. The first being it sets up the expectations, right? There's a bunch of different ways you can run games, a bunch of different tones you can have for a game. Is the game going to be super serious? Is the game going to be relaxed and jovial? And you want to make sure that the GM and the players are all on the same page. Session 0 time, peanut butter jelly time, but much better. Agreed. So you do this so that everybody has an equal framework. You also do this so that everyone understands what rules are being played under, because it's a communal storytelling effort, right? You want to make sure that everybody knows the story that's being told and everyone is aware of what's involved, because you might want to play a character and you might be planning and thinking about a character and then realize that with the storyline that's going to be worked out, that character's not a good fit. So in situations like that, it's generally best to either discuss, is there any way we can change these things, how set in stone is some of these elements, or play a different character, or even realize that this isn't the campaign for you. There have been times where session 0s have ended with, wow, not only can we not play this campaign, we're not people that can play well together because we're looking for different things in a game, and that's fine. But if you know that in advance, you can go find the right group. And if you don't know that in advance, you get stuck in a bad experience. So session 0s are all about trying to mitigate bad experiences and make sure that everybody enjoys their time. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be answering a bunch of questions about the session and the game. What a lineup. I know, right? Hi, Rose. So you guys are going to be part of this as well. If you have any questions that you would like answered, either send them to me in a DM or just go ahead and put them right away in chat. And we will try to address those questions as well. If there's a good opportunity that some of the people playing may have questions that come up after answering questions, because questions often lead to questions. So anybody in chat, if you have any questions that come up, feel free to go ahead and post them. Anybody that's playing, just be like, I have a question, and then we'll bounce around to different questions. There's a couple where Ace had sent me things, and I'm not sure what he meant by it, so I'll get clarification from him when we get to those. I have broken down the questions we already have into 4 categories, which are game theory, mechanical elements, story elements, and character generation questions. So that's where we're going to start. Lurk. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Ali.
So the first question isn't a question, but a lot of the things that will happen in a good campaign are based on what's called the Pareto Principle. You all know the Pareto Principle. You just don't know you know it because no one calls it by the right name. Because the Pareto Principle is the quote-unquote 80-20 rule. Okay? The 80-20 rule is that 80% of something will be done by 20% of a thing. Paranoid Pig, thank you for the follow. So the Pareto Principle is that 80% of a thing 80% of the growth or production of a thing occurs within 20% of its mass. Okay? If you think about it, if you look at a carpet in your room, 80% of the tread wear is on 20% of the carpet. When you're talking about gaming, 80% of the income from microtransactions comes from 20% of the player base. And within that 20%, 80% of the microtransactions come from 20% of the 20%. Like, the Pareto Principle is just a truism in the universe. It's how physics works. So that's also how gaming works as well. And it's a couple different ways. What I mean is that 80% of the work to run the campaign will be done by 20% of the group, or in this case, slightly less than that, because me. However, 80% of the airtime will be taken up by the rest of the players. Okay? Like, most of the game should be you guys talking, you guys interacting, and then me doing what I need to facilitate telling the story. All right? I have to handle the world, but the central focus is on you 5 guys. It's not me. So, gaming theory. Most of this isn't questions. It's just things that I want to make sure we say before we start. You will hear 2 phrases a lot, even when we're going through this. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified them ahead of time. One is, we'll work it out. And one is, trust the GM. Okay? We'll work it out means it's shorthand for we'll have conversations back and forth, and we'll figure out how to reach an agreeable position so that we can move forward without further problems. Okay? If something comes up in the game and it needs to be fixed, we'll work it out. Generally, because it's going to be a live show, we kind of muddle through things while live, and then afterwards send me a message, and then we have at least 2 weeks to try to figure out what the hell we're doing before we have to do it again. So anything happens, we'll work it out. Trust the GM is shorthand for I'm not here to win or to make you guys lose. I'm here to entertain you guys plus the audience and also try to tell a good story. So, my GMing style is not antagonistic. My GMing style is very yes and more than no but. Lies. I mean like mildly antagonistic. More so to Gray. All right. So, leading from that, first question. What is the process if we find ourselves in a situation we are uncomfortable with? All right. The answer to this one is slightly different because it's a live program. If something is completely unbearable, DM me immediately and I'll get it resolved. If something was one time only bearable, or if you didn't realize until after the session how much it bothered you, contact me in between sessions and we'll work something out. The nature of this question makes it hard to give a cut and dry answer, but we'll work it out. Okay. Are there any boundaries or topics that are off limits? We're actually going to come back around to this one once Allie is present, because that's a question that everybody needs to be present for, so there's no reason to have that conversation twice. But we will definitely come back around to this one because that's one that we need her input on. There was a question about the status or nature of gods and deities in this game. This is mostly a world without a creation myth. Okay, so none of the gods are actually creators. They're just super insanely powered beings. The ones that have creation myths assume unreliable narrator. No one actually knows how anything was started. Okay. But yeah, they're just insanely powerful beings. If you think of the old line of any sufficiently advanced form of technology appears to be magic, continue that further to any sufficiently advanced form of magic appears to be godlike. Right?
Fair enough.
So, couple questions. These are going to be fun little icebreakers for the group. And then we'll force... Thank you, Mr. Clark. Then we'll force Allie to, answer hers rapid fire all by herself. But, and anybody can jump in on these in any order. I don't care. The first question is, what is a tabletop role-playing game for you? That question is intentionally vague. Answer it how you feel appropriate.
I'm gonna jump in there first because top of the stuff. Here we go. For me, a live role-playing game is the truest form of escapism, and to have that kind of break from crazy ass world, even if we're going into a different crazy world, I think is a great weekly vacation from all of your crazy life to go and be somewhere else with a completely different set of worries and stuff. It's the purest form of escapism, and I find that entertaining, enthralling, and a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what she said. It's a chance to be somebody or something I'm not in reality.
For me, I tend to. I'm going to get a little more specific. I mean, I've only played D&D, but for me, D&D itself or tabletops, kind of like they're saying, you can be something else. I mean, I spent when I was young. I mean, you're running outside, imagining you're shooting Star Wars guns or doing whatever you want, and I mean, now you're actually able to sit down and see that character, whether it's on a screen or on a token in front of you physically. You're able to interact as that character and pretend you're that character, and you're finally able to be around a bunch of people that you're not just imaginary. Well, I mean, you're still imaginary fighting things, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
You're not the only one outside running around, jumping off of tree trunks and being like, "Hiya!" Like everyone else is doing it with you, so you're not nerding out alone.
Right. It's communal nerding.
Yeah, communal
nerding.
Teamwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Wars passing fad, newfangled things.
Fine. Me, it was more Lord of the Rings, but
right.
That's why D&D is such a good hit for me.
For me, it is escapism, but I always like to look at it as a exercise in my own imagination, and also as a speaking exercise, which oddly enough might sound weird to you, but it is, because I can sometimes have issues trying to talk to people because, as Second is probably aware, I run into things called stalls, where I will have a hard time having a conversation with someone because I literally just don't know what to say, and I use this as ways to help to work my way through that.
Okay.
Which might sound a little odd, but it does help.
See, I became a welder instead, so I don't have to actually talk with people, really.
I unfortunately have a job as management, so I have to talk to people.
I was about to say, my job, I spend my entire day calling people to the point where my phone's like recent calls, by the end of the day, doesn't even go past noon, just because I call so many people.
That sounds horrible.
Oh, it's constant. Receiving and sending out calls, constant.
So, and in the words of a very good friend of mine one time, he said, he described it as sometimes you need to take a vacation from yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's also a very, very apt description. All right. So, what have you always wanted to do in a campaign or with a character that you've never been able to do before? And we're not saying you're trying to accomplish that in this one, just what's one of those bucket list things that you've never done in the hobby yet?
Become a god.
Okay. Solid.
Not die.
Has never done it yet.
Okay,
Oh,
mine's actually
guys.
the opposite of Gray's. I have, in fact, actually never permanently lost a character in a role-playing game. That's not a challenge. Second,
you
that's,
want to die?
Doesn't have to happen, but it's something that hasn't happened.
He asked what you wanted to do. You want to die?
No,
No,
I
just-
asked what she's never done, not what she wanted
That's
to
fair.
do.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
Something
fair.
Never
That's fair.
happened. The campaign ended. The group broke apart. Other things happened. We got inspired to do other campaigns instead and had other characters roll up. Or like we've stopped campaigns and I've stopped playing characters, but they've never actually died.
Okay.
And he was DMing at one time that he had one opportunity to kill me and he missed it, and then somehow I almost did in fact become a god. And he was like, "Damn it! I should have killed her when I could have." Yeah, that's happened.
There's a reason why she has the lucky dice.
Yes.
All right. So, what are you all excited for in this campaign? And you can't say just playing. Now Ace needs to think of another answer.
Actually playing with a group that I actually haven't really played with.
That is always a fun experience playing with people you can't actually guess what they're going to be doing because you're not used to them yet.
I know this doesn't count as my answer, but being actually to be a player after 5 years of being the only DM that I know.
Nice.
But I'll come up with a different answer, but that's the main thing right now.
No,
That's a totally valid answer. Yeah.
It's such a different realm because I mean when you're a DM, I love DMing genuinely. Like my party can tell you, I love just getting into it, delving in, and just creating everything. But there's also a completely different aspect.
Nice bacon.
You don't know all the answers. You don't know you're not setting up the riddles. You have to encounter the riddles. You have to encounter the pieces. You're not the one weaving the story every time. And I love to write. I love to weave that story. But sometimes I'm excited to be able to sit back and just take that ride and experience it as it goes, not knowing 3 steps ahead.
Right.
You're happy to be in the shotgun seat versus being the driver.
Yep.
I completely understand.
And for those who might not be able to reach out at the moment, Bacon said, I'd be in trouble with this one because that would be my exact answer, that or I have an opportunity to find my tribe again. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's lives get busy and sometimes you need an excuse to be able to spend time with your friends. And this is one of those opportunities to have an excuse.
You are not wrong there, Second, at all.
Yeah.
I've been having a hard time even showing up for your streams because I can't keep myself awake after.
Right, but this is something that you will be able to make. So yeah, it's
I can plan around this, so it makes it a lot easier to deal with. Honestly, my answer for that last question would really be just I want to see the world you're building, really, because I've read the little bit that you gave us. I'm like, okay, so we're going to explore a valley that is basically the valley of death at the moment.
Yeah.
What the heck does the other side look like?
This is, and we'll get into this later when we get around to the story, but this is going to be an interesting experience because, I mean, being the old man that I am, I'm basically trying to take a late 70s, early 80s D&D style story, something very very foundational, but apply it in a more modern context, in a world of players where they're familiar with Dark Souls. Like, take this whole idea of heroes versus demons and devils, and angels versus the infernal powers, and like all this old school Dio, Black Sabbath kind of stuff. This is an attempt to take the mural on the side of the van and make it an NFT.
Bless you.
Right? So that's the analogy that I'm really trying to go for. And I want to see how that transpires. And really, for me, that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to, hang out with some friends again. I'm excited to see what happens when a bunch of people from different eras of role-playing, people that learned in different systems or different decades, all try to play together. Because you've got, like, me and Allie and Gray, we started role-playing in the 80s. Lost and Morden started role-playing in the 90s. Ace is 15 and started role-playing last week. Like, legitimately, he wasn't
We're spanning
alive.
like 3 decades of starting.
Yeah, like, he wasn't alive when half of us started playing. So, like, what he brings to the table is going to be a completely different experience and a completely different viewpoint. And that's going to be fun for me to watch. Also, for me, it's going to be seeing how this story comes forward, what kind of life we can breathe into it from that background. Not sure if I should have put this in mechanical elements or game theory, but one other question that you will hear me say sometimes in game is you will hear me say 3 magic words. Are you sure?
No, we're doing it anyways.
Yes.
No, but we're doing it anyways.
Yeah. Morden knows what "are you sure" means, and it means not that the GM is telling you not to do a thing, because I am never going to tell you not to do the thing. What I am going to tell you is, are you sure this is the thing you want to do?
Are you prepared for the consequences?
Right. This is me asking in a very roundabout way. You are about to talk shit. That means you are going to get hit. Are you aware that there are consequences to this action? If you are, I'm going to let you experience them. You've chosen to make that choice for the character. But this is my way of making sure that you're aware and that you have chosen, that you have made that choice.
So you guys know that the break in between those 2 cliffs is about 300 feet. And you sure you want to make that jump?
Right. I can do
I can do it, Coach.
it. Gold Jacket, are you the GM? Yes. Yes, I am. And Lost, Ace, Allie, Greymane, and Morden are going to be our players. And this is going to run... Go ahead.
And no, the 4 of them aren't all named Charname.
Right. It's just short for character names, because we don't have character names yet. They're not all related, honest. And it'll kind of blend into the story as well, but I wanted to make sure everyone recognizes that the way I tell a story, not all encounters are winnable by standing your ground. Okay? It's not to say... Yeah, it's not to say that you can't beat this fight later. It's just to say that your purpose for being in this scene is not to have the fight. Your purpose for being in this scene is to recognize that you need to bring a reckoning for something later. And I'm demonstrating the threat so that you have time to figure out how to handle that threat. Okay? I think a lot of parties, and And a lot of GMs don't necessarily clarify this, and that's where you get those accidental TPKs, or total party kills for the uninitiated. If you don't know, if you think that your GM leaves every fight winnable, reroll time. If you think that your GM leaves every fight winnable, you're going to go into every fight expecting to win. I don't do that. I will put you in scenarios where you will not be able to win. And I may say, are you sure, 2 or 3 times before you advance. But the reason for that is some fights will be easy, some fights will be impossible. And it's so the ones that are where you're fighting uphill a bit, you'll feel more accomplished when you win. I punched Dracolich in the teeth. I killed it, right? No. So, yeah, there will be times where you just need to go, we've got to run. And there will be times where certain party members, you go, we need to sleep him or knock him out so that we can run. But that's part of the game. Like,
do we have saps?
Bonk. Whack bonk. One other part of game theory, and like this is something that I've never had to bring up before, but it's become a hot button in gaming. And there is a company recently that has gone so far as to say they're just removing it from all of their titles going forward. I'm not saying it's the right answer, but I'm not saying it's the wrong answer. I'm saying that they're a business and they can make whatever answer they want. We're going to call this entry the slavery thing. My simple opinion is, as a writer, it is important to demonstrate that evil people do the evil things of the world. And in this case, because it's a fantasy setting, I'm using people in the broadest of senses. Okay? Evil people do the evil things in the world. The evil things don't happen on their own. They're done by evil people. So I understand where certain things, and this is where we'll go into what are off-limit topics once Allie's available. But obviously you want to avoid anything that are hot button issues or trauma issues for the players. Okay? Other than that, everything, in my opinion, should be on the table. So, I mean, should they come up often? No. But, like, if somebody were in the party and say, look, the slavery thing is a thing for me, and I don't want to play in a game that has it, sure, we wouldn't utilize it. Just like any other trauma button story point. Won't use it if it's going to trigger a player, right? That's just common courtesy. Other than that, I'm going to put it in the same category as all of the other things that are horrible and you shouldn't do to other fellow human beings. But I'm going to talk about it because talking about it is one of the ways that you keep it from happening to fellow human beings. So I'm not saying that any companies are right. I'm not saying that any companies are wrong. I'm saying that they have a right to make the decision of what they want to do as a policy, and this is mine. So there's that. Does anybody have any specifically like game theory or just role playing in general before we get into mechanicals and story stuff? Any questions that have come up from these questions so far?
Not
Nope.
for me.
Nope.
Okie doke. We're doing good then. So the next category is mechanical elements. This is questions about my interpretation or how as a GM I'm going to interpret the D&D system for the most part, right? Will feats be allowed? Oh, by the way, anybody that has a question that didn't get on the list or has a clarification about a question that I asked, just interrupt me. Are feats allowed? Yes, although I reserve the right to alter any that I think have game-breaking effects. That rule, by the way, applies to more than just
Lucky!
feats. Yes, it applies to Lucky, for example. For those
accuracy.
For those who don't know, Lucky is a feat that gives you basically 3 GM insight points per long rest for free, which is dumb, and whoever allowed that into the game should feel bad. What I have said is I'm not banning it, I'm making it 1 point instead of 3. I think that's still fair. That still might be a little bit unbalanced, but it's only 33 1/3% is unbalanced if it is unbalanced. So we'll go with it. Because it's one of those things that I could see somebody kind of almost building a character around. So, fine.
Yeah,
Do you ever-
I'd never do that.
Do you ever plan on giving out feats as like a reward, or is it solely you can select this during your ASIs type situation?
Usually it'll only be during the ASI type situations. Like if incredible things happen, then unusual circumstances allow for unusual responses.
Okay.
But yeah, generally it'll be that. Also, though, as far as GM inspiration, we stole something from another game many years ago, and we generally refer to it as Fate. It does the same thing, but it allows GM inspiration to not be confused with Bardic inspiration, to not be confused with inspired. Like, now it's completely a separate thing. All right. All players will start with 1 fate point. This is going to be more of a character generation thing, but we're talking about it right now, so I don't care. All characters will start with 1 fate point, and at the end of every gameplay stream, chat will vote on who gets 1 more point, who they were most entertained by, or who they feel the most pity for. Rose, what's your question?
So I'm going for the pity.
And why is it only one question?
Are there laser corgis? Probably not in this one, but don't worry. I have other things that you'll like almost as much as the laser corgi.
All right.
Oh,
If I die, I'm becoming a artificer, and I'm making a laser corgi.
That's
It's gonna
fair.
happen.
You just got to take the artillerist
I was about to-
subclass, and we're going to
Just strap it onto a dog.
No. You don't even have to, because remember, the cannon that you have walking around with you is a small creature. You just make it look like a dog.
just
All
a
it does is
corgi.
it barks
A cannon
instead and
corgi.
fires the cannon.
Cannon corgi.
I like cannon corgi.
You're just going to have to try and figure out how to carry this 500-pound corgi.
Corgi can walk.
Yes, but only 15.
It's like
So it's a very slow corgi. Yes.
I can't even pick up 500 pounds, I don't think.
No, you can't.
I don't think my
No.
strength allows me to pick up 500 pounds.
Most character strengths wouldn't let you pick up 500 pounds.
I mean, that's what levers are
Gray! Gray! Can you carry my cannon corgi?
We can just put it on your shoulder. We'll set up a little platform. It'll have a howdah for it.
No, put the cannon corgi on the front of a wagon, on the front, in the center, and name it Mac. Bing! Thank you for the sub. I was admittedly considering at one point a Warforged artillerist artificer, and having the cannon rather than a Crawley, just having it come out of my arm because I'm a nerd. I mean, that would work too. All right.
Gotta get 2 cannons and just go full Pokemon. Get all Blastoise up and just
Nice.
2 cannons shoulder to shoulder.
What if you decide something is broken after I pick it? This was the one that I expected Ace to ask about the question after I talked about things that were broken. So I already had an answer ready.
Would you like me to ask you just to make it?
Sure.
All right. What happens if we pick a broken thing and you don't like it anymore?
I'm glad that you asked. So at that point, we'll work it out. Either we can rewind and you can have the points back and you can get something else, or we'll mediate how to make it still in the game but not as powerful, or we will give it to you for now, but the cost isn't fully paid, and maybe it also takes your next feat slot as well. Like, we'll figure out ways that I'm agreeable with and you're agreeable with to make sure that you get to play the character the way you want to play the character. My concern is making sure that it doesn't break the game. Your concern is making sure you can play the character the way you intend. Those two have to be able to meet somewhere. So we'll work it out. Is this planning on being a campaign that goes up to level 20? Or is it going to end before that? I don't expect that this is going to get to level 20. Simply because any session that only meets every other week, you're talking about that is likely a year and a half to 2 years to be able to get to level 20. However, a more important question is, as a group, and also we'll ask Allie when she shows up, as a group, how long do we want this campaign to run? And that's not to say that this campaign can't be picked up again after that point. It's just saying, where do we want a definitive, this is the end of this story kind of point? How long do you guys want to dedicate to pretty much guaranteeing that we'll do this every other Tuesday?
I'm down. I mean, the time frame is irrelevant. I'm down.
Okay.
So I'm 5 years. Like, I'm down.
Okay.
I really I wouldn't be setting an end date on that one, just kind of like he is. As long as, unless something changes that cause me to not be able to show up, I will show up. That's basically my answer.
Yeah, barring scheduling changes or other things happening, it's pretty safe at the moment. We could go almost indefinitely, but outside life, things will undoubtedly come up at some point. And at that point, we address.
Right.
We'll talk about it.
We talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing to write it until everybody feels like it should stop.
Okay, so we're just going to put a Mobius on that for now and, hope that it doesn't bomb like the movie did.
We're going to force you to write a 1 to 20 campaign. I just hope you're ready.
I think he'll be happy with that.
Why not? I know.
I was about to say I've written a 1 to 20 campaign. What I've written was a 1 to Immortal campaign in boxed set. And then also wrote a 1 to, I forget what max was at the time. It might have been 20 or might have been 25 in second. But we never actually finished it. Other than that, I've never written a start to finish. So that'd be fun. One of the neat things about the way that I'm setting up this world is I have several keystone moments, fixed points in time, that have happened both in the future of this world and in the past of it, that have made it take certain shapes at different points. So I know those specific points. Other than that, everything else is going to be whatever the players decide to go with it. So we could wind up doing a lot of different things in this game world. Can I use a focus, or do I need to purchase / find material components for spells that that do not have a gold value on them? Focuses are fine. I don't want to go back to the 90s where we have, 11 pages of 4 columns of spell cost components. I don't want to know what the copper piece per ounce price of bat guano is again, because I knew it at one point and I don't need that information back in my head. Like, it's fine. The reason to me that there is still there is material components here on there is
Flavor.
if your character gets captured, stripped, and thrown in a cell, you can't cast any spell that has a material component because you don't have your stuff. If you don't have your focus, you don't have your stuff. Much like if you have a spell that has a semantic component and you are handcuffed, you can't cast it because you can't do the Doctor Strange shit.
Right.
Okay?
Now,
Keep going.
so this is a secondary question off of that. So obviously I'm playing a spellcaster. If I pick up a spell that has a item, like a gold value item,
Diamonds,
do I
right.
start with that?
You do not start with them, but I understand that you're probably going to want to be able to find them pretty quickly, so we'll work on stuff for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you have any of those spells that start, let me know, and
Okay.
you'll probably get at least one of the things before Chapter 0 ends,
Awesome.
just so you
Okay.
have them available. After that, you're on your own to find them.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Yes, do any defined material components for spells that have a gold value on them. Try to keep track of dollar mats as much as you can. Everybody makes mistakes on those from time to time. GM, I have a starting spell that requires me to have 10k gold. Yeah, prove it.
Actually, there is a spell that costs a gold every time you cast it. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, but it's not casting it 10,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes on those mats. Everybody forgets. It's fine. But that's why it's important to try to make sure you have them in advance. Because if you have 3 of them and just forgot to use one, then you can say, oh, here's that emerald. Right? If you didn't have the emerald on it, now we have to figure out, well, do I just take the gold out of your character? Was it likely that you couldn't have cast it? And how do we have to retcon the situation? Like, it gets messy.
And what's good is I believe now I'd have to mess around with it, but I think you can actually set up the spells to require your character to have that material component and takes it away when you cast the spell if the spell uses it.
I think in
I think
Foundry
there is a
you
way.
can. Yeah, I think you can, like, there's like check mark items that you can put quantities for. Yeah, I think it works.
I think so. We can work on that. And,
Yeah.
And if not, again, paper and pencil will make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the likelihood of finding magic items? Are they common, rare, etc.? I intend the game world to be like the bog standard D&D magic level, which means high magic, high fantasy, even at low level. So adventurers will have fairly common access to these things. It's not going to be Lord of the Rings where there's 3 magic swords, 1 ring, and 1 suit of armor in 9 books. You guys will pretty regularly have access to that kind of stuff. Especially because I don't have to worry about hoarding it now, because you can only have 3 or so at a time anyway now. So,
Yeah. 3 attuned.
yeah. So, I mean, it fixes a whole lot of problems. Will encumbrance be a thing in the game? The answer is no, within reason.
I want to pick up this, anvil and take it with me.
Pick up this laser corgi and take it with me?
I've got a pair of cannon corgis, 1 under each arm. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, don't do that. And then we're fine. The example I had prepared was, I'm not going to make you track coin weight. But if you try running around with 14 great axes strapped to your back, we're going to have a conversation. We played in this old enough in the game where that was a thing. Like, there was an era of the game where you hard tracked encumbrance down to the ounce. I mean, that's
I
not.
hated doing that when you were talking about ammunition. That
Yeah.
was the worst.
That's a thing that really doesn't happen the same way. Like that's not where the focus of the game is, and it's fine. And I think that 5e is a better game without it than it would be with it. So I don't think it's necessary. Again, don't have a battleship in your back pocket. Similarly, will ammo consumption be a thing? This one's a little different. Again, within reason. Okay? But within reason becomes different when it's a combat item. And what I mean by that is I don't have a problem assuming you're retrieving ammunition to make sure that you always have that quiver of 20 arrows after and around fights. However, if you
So
have
basically, I got to make sure to say that I'm going to get my stuff.
No, don't even have to do that. But if you have a
Okay.
quiver of 20 arrows,
You can only shoot 20 times in a combat.
yeah, if you're an archer that has triple shot and you're expecting 10 to 15 rounds of combat, you probably want to have more than one quiver. Right?
Probably, yeah.
More importantly than that, but in the same vein, if you have special ammunition, like, silver or onyx or unobtainium arrows, and these are the thing you need to kill the big bad, and you have 5 of them, we are counting those shots. Because that's a dramatic moment. And that's okay, I only have 5 chances to hit this thing with this. Each of these individually matter, and therefore tracking the ammunition becomes important. Does that one make sense? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I use a very similar rule for my game that I'm doing with my guys.
Nice.
Yeah, I just make them have to actually tell me they're going to get it.
Yeah.
Because if you forget to do it, your guy forgot to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit even more free with that. Like, I assume
They
that
specifically asked for a hardcore campaign, which is why I'm doing that. And I also have them roll a d20 every time they take one. Anytime they roll a 1, the arrowhead was damaged and the arrow was gone.
Okay, cool.
So I have extra rules on top of it.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the nice things about 5th edition is if you want to play that way, it's easy to add in stipulations. Like, this is a game system where you can bog it down with the stips you want, but there's no need to worry about removing stips that you don't. And that's one of the things that I've really come to like about 5th edition. As someone,
It's just so versatile.
Yeah, as someone that has been playing D&D in every edition since box set, it's something that the game has never had to this degree before. The fact that there are no stips you need to remove, you just add whatever stips you want. Are there any cancellation or policies or punishments for people who can't make sessions? This is not something I want to answer. This is something I want to discuss. Because this is, again, a group thing. It's not just me. It's all 6 of us. So all 6 of us need to have a say on what those policies would be. Anybody have any starting thoughts or know anything that has worked in groups they've been in the past?
So
Personally, I'm against punishments in general. I mean, life is what happens outside of here. As long as everything's within reason, like, I'm not going to make somebody, even if it's not something huge, even if you're just having a bad head day, you need more sleep. Get your sleep. I'm okay with it. Just go sleep. It's fine. Like, things happen. We've all been pretty excited, I think, to be here. I don't doubt that most of us, this is what we'd prefer to do. On the turn, if it's a positive thing, I don't want to deny you an amazing opportunity just because we've already got this scheduled and you don't want to lose your chance at a magic item or something.
Right.
I'll agree with that. I mean, I don't think if it's here and there, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, if it's to every week somebody saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to make it. Yeah, I'm not going to make it. Yeah, I'm not going to make it," then it's like, okay, I think we need to sit down and have a discussion. Are you still wanting to be in this campaign? And then, but I mean, if it's hey, something came up at work or something, I got a concert ticket that a once in a lifetime situation, I'm not going to make it. Like then it's like, okay, yeah, cool. But if it's a more, again, every week or every night, like over 75% of the weeks you're going, I can't make it, sorry guys, then it's like, okay, then do you want to become more of a guest character where your character shows up when you're available, but when they're not, then they're going off and doing their own thing in the wild.
Okay.
Like does it need to be some form of compromise, or just, hey, I don't know, are you still wanting to be a part of this type of thing? But
Right.
as she said, like,
Hi,
I
Ellie.
don't think any of us are going to be missing because we're not wanting to be.
I agree. From everything everybody said, it seems like we're all really jonesing for this, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
Jumping on that though, I had what I did with my last group is I didn't have a punishment. What I had was a stipulation of the show goes on. You are not there. That's fine. I have your character sheet. If something you are extremely good at shows up, like if you're the rogue and all of a sudden we need to pick a lock and no one else can do it, I can still roll on your character sheet to do that, to facilitate the party, because you still would technically have been there. But for this session, you are not there. I will fight for you. I will, do those roles, but you don't interact, because I'm not going to try and roleplay you outside of the cases of have to. But I know that's a little bit different.
So I'll actually build off of that. So what I do is, we actually, at session 0, I make all the characters pick a different player and say, when I am missing, you're Jaegering my character. Now it's a hey, you're only using him when necessary, similar to you do. Like this case, like you can't say, well, I'm taking control of Morden's character, he's going to give me all his magic items. That doesn't work. Like, but it's a, hey, Morden's really good at this thing. Now I have their character sheet in order to, okay, well, I know Morden's stats are this, so we can change it, type of thing.
Okay. So as a party, which way would we prefer that to be done? Do you want to do a buddy system, or do you want to do a GM plays the missing person system? I'm cool with both.
Yeah, I'm fine with both myself, because most likely, realistically, I'm on call 24/7 at my job, and when they call, I have to leave given my line of work.
Right.
And I won't always be able to give notifications, so I'm okay with it being. However, if someone wants to step up and play my character when I'm not here, or if you want to run it as the DM, that's great with me. Because face it, we know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the dumbest thing possible and do it. So.
Do we poke the dragon? No, we don't poke the dragon. What are you doing, Gray? Gray, stop.
What is Gray doing? Head down, shield up, step forward.
Yep.
Yes.
Having been a
he just
GM,
has his shield and it has emblazoned on it Leroy as his coat of arms.
on the back
Leroy.
is Jenkins.
Amateur.
Leroy learned from me.
Having been a
Behold
GM,
the House of Jenkins.
I recommend the buddy system, because I think, especially in combat, you're already going to be running 7 character sheets.
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to take that, maybe it's in combat we take over, we Jaeger as a party, but then outside of combat maybe it falls back into your lap second or whatever. I think in combat you start having, again, 6 or 7 characters, sometimes maybe more, maybe less, but you're you got to focus on not only the character you're playing, but also making sure everyone's in turn, making sure everyone's stuff goes right, making sure all of this stuff left and right. That throwing one more character on top, I think just adds a whole nother level of being like, okay, well, I can't target myself, and I can't, like, I think that's adding a little bit of complexity,
and it's more complexity as the level goes up. Like,
correct.
Tier 1, not a big deal. Tier 3, a big deal.
So I personally vote. I don't care either way. I don't mind either way. I personally vote that it's more of a buddy system, or maybe it's we all decide, but that gets a little hard, as you said, at the higher level, then
Right.
everyone's got to know everyone's ability. So I almost say more of a buddy system.
I think you're right with a buddy
I pick
system.
somebody.
I think that's a good system, and I think we'll pair up with that afterwards, or in the future.
Yeah.
We have time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
have time.
So we're gonna pause for a second here, guys, so that I can rearrange everything and get Allie in on the call. So just to